Welcome to Season 3 of the Healthy Living Doesn't Have to Suck podcast. I'm Melyssa with a Y, double board certified lifestyle medicine coach, size-inclusive fitness specialist, author, and speaker dedicated to helping changemakers like you drop the struggle and create a healthy lifestyle you can love. This season, we're diving even deeper into conversations with guests from all arenas of the health and wellness industry, focused on making healthy living feel easy, enjoyable, and sustainable. Through my book, coaching community, online fitness studio, and corporate wellness packages, I'm here to provide the tools, strategies, and support you need to feel your best. Because when you show up as your healthiest self, you're unstoppable. All right, y'all, let's get to it. Before we get into this episode, Changemakers, I do want to offer a quick sensitive topic disclaimer for substance use and suicide. We don't go in depth, but I did want to at least give you a heads up that those things are talked about in this episode in case that is something that you might be sensitive to. So other than that, I hope that there are plenty of takeaways and that this episode that is shared from the heart really hits home for many of you listening in. So I just want to thank you in advance for being here, and we'll go ahead and get into it. Welcome back, Changemakers. It is day 5 of Lifestyle Medicine Week, and today's topic is avoiding risky substance use. Now, obviously, that's going to fall in line with tobacco, vaping, and more recently, alcohol has been brought into the conversation, and especially with the release of the U.S. Surgeon General's statement on alcohol and increased cancer risk, so timely to share about this topic. I don't have a guest expert for this one, but I felt like it would be helpful to share a personal part of my story, which if you've read the book, you know a little bit about it, but I wanted to come on here and have a little bit more of a personal tie to this conversation because typically it gets riddled with things like blame, shame, guilt, and just ultimately it doesn't feel good to talk about these things sometimes. And we may put ourselves in a state of denial where we're ashamed to admit something or we are embarrassed by how we're handling a situation. And I wanted to come up here and have a vulnerable conversation about this because I will admit, over the last couple of years, I had a really difficult relationship with alcohol. And some of that was family influence. Some of that was lack of adaptive coping skills. Like it was just one of those things where I think we associate alcohol with fun and stress relief and maybe some kind of social stimulant, right? Maybe it helps reduce your social anxiety. And I want to have this conversation to just allow yourself some space to come from a place of non-judgment, come from a place of kindness to yourself, which I know I share we should all practice all the time. But it is a practice. We have to build those mental muscles. So this is an opportunity to practice and extend that kindness towards yourself and to really just allow ourselves to reflect on why do we drink so much sometimes? What kind of habit does this end up becoming? Or do you even realize it when you're picking up a beer at the end of the day or having a glass of wine when you're out with friends? Like sometimes it's just been so normalized in our society that this is how we connect. This is what we do. This is the norm. And this is our time to start challenging those norms because ultimately alcohol is a toxin. Do I live a sober lifestyle? No, I don't. But I can tell you that I have significantly, like emphasis on the significantly, reduced my alcohol intake. And one of the things that I love about Lifestyle Medicine Week is even just bringing awareness to what constitutes low risk drinking. There's moderate to high risk. And sometimes we don't even know what that is, but truly emphasizing that if you're choosing to enjoy alcohol, which I do on occasion, like I love a glass of sparkling wine every now and then. It kind of feels like a celebration. But there was a point in time where I was finishing an entire bottle like in one day. And I will tell you, that is not low risk drinking. It was at a time when I was facing a lot of stress. Um, I was ironically dealing with some family issues regarding substance use. At one point in time, we lost my uncle to suicide. He had struggled with anxiety and depression and substance use. And it was around July, the beginning of July, that we lost him many years ago at this point now. Gosh, I think it was 2012. Yeah, because I had just graduated college. I was doing my internship at Disney. Shout out Nicole, our aquatic research girlies. And it was during that time where I was in my mid 20s, going out, partying, having a good time. But behind closed doors, I was also dealing with an ex-boyfriend who had substance use problem. And I say substance use, it was alcohol use. And he had been hiding it from me the entire time that we had lived together, which, to be fair, only a couple months, but was still kind of a little bit of a blessing in disguise because and actually, I don't share this part in the book. So this is kind of a podcast exclusive here. I was really kind of shook up by the loss of my uncle. And when I started realizing some of the patterns that my boyfriend at the time had, in addition to some of the patterns that my dad had, which I do talk about my dad in the book. Dad went to inpatient treatment for alcohol use, and he's been doing a great job on his recovery journey. So very proud of him. It definitely helped our relationship a whole lot. But during this time where I was processing and grieving the loss of my Uncle Jerry, and I had this moment where I had asked, hey, can we just not have alcohol in the house for a while? It's really difficult because it makes me think of Uncle Jerry. And right now, I think it would just help me out to not have alcohol in the house. And I can laugh about it now. It was not fun in the moment, but what ended up happening was I woke up to a crash in the bathroom at probably, I would say around 2 a.m. or so. Um, and my boyfriend at the time had fallen into the shower and torn down the shower curtain. And of course I jump up thinking like, oh my gosh, is everything okay? And when I was standing in the bathroom, I could smell the alcohol on him. I could smell it from the door, which was not very close to the shower. And it was just that moment where I knew something needed to change. And ironically, after dealing with that, how did I cope? It was easy for me to also drink my problems away at the time, which in hindsight, they ended up causing more problems, right? And I share all of this because I want people out there who might be dealing with something similar or have had something like this happen in their lives to know that you're not alone. This, again, is something, it's a conversation that is often stigmatized. And I think when we're trying to live a healthier lifestyle, there are some things that might get in the way of that. And if we don't have the time and the space or the place to process through these kinds of events, it can have a lasting impact on the choices that we make to this day. So it's important to work with a professional, whether that's a therapist or a coach in some capacity, to really work through that tough stuff. Because when we're engaging in substance use, it's typically to try to escape, control, avoid, or numb some kind of discomfort that we're feeling, right? Whether that's physical discomfort and maybe some kind of chronic pain, Maybe it's emotional discomfort where you have all of these emotions come up that we want them to pass by as soon as possible, right? And then we have those instances where it might just be something that has become so part of our routine that we don't even pay that much attention to it anymore. And the first thing that I want to offer in, I guess, what we would call the educate section of this podcast is recognizing what constitutes low risk drinking, as well as the harms that come from engaging in substance use, whether it is illicit substances or alcohol or tobacco or vaping or marijuana or anything like that. Because knowing those risks are going to help us better determine how does this action align with who we want to be in the world and the future that we want for ourselves, and what is this behavior bringing to my health? How is it supporting my health? Because when we stop and ask ourselves those questions, oftentimes the answer is it's not. It's helping me temporarily put a Band-Aid over some of this discomfort, but ultimately it is not helping me. It is not supporting my healthiest version of myself that I desire to be. So, whew, let's take a breath. That's a lot right now. That's a lot to unpack. But I hope that there's something in those stories that you can connect to and that can help you recognize and feel less alone in the world, because we all have different chapters in our story. And some of them we love to go back and revisit and reread, and others we just want to like turn the page and flip through as possible. and so when we're reflecting, sometimes it can be uncomfortable, but ultimately that can provide us some insights on how we can grow into our future, how we can move forward, and just kind of tagging along that emotional baggage, right? I actually think I've shared this in a previous podcast, but I'm going to share it again here because it just cracks me up every time. I heard someone, or maybe saw a meme or something, but they were like, it is such a missed opportunity that someone used the term emotional baggage instead of a grief case. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's hilarious. So if you remember that from a former episode, hopefully it made you laugh again. If you're hearing it for the first time, I can't take credit for it. I saw it online somewhere. I just don't remember where. So, all right, let's go to, let's focus on the low risk drinking guidelines, right? Because ultimately, I think we can all recognize that inhaling certain substances, and anything that is illegal, probably not the most supportive to our health. Granted, there are extenuating circumstances, right? I know medical marijuana is starting to become more regular use, but in the field of lifestyle medicine, we truly focus on those lifestyle behaviors first and foremost. And when it comes to any kind of pharmaceuticals or drugs, those are meant to be discussed in conjunction with your healthcare provider. So just going to make that quick plug and disclaimer as always. But for now, alcohol is one of the most commonly used substances amongst other things like caffeine. Caffeine is another one. We don't talk about caffeine as much, more of like the timing of caffeine in terms of avoiding it in the afternoon so it doesn't interrupt your sleep and things like that. But let's focus on, since the chapter in the book is choose less booze, let's focus on that one for now. So for your low risk drinking guidelines, we have 12 ounces of beer at 5% ABV, which is alcohol by volume. Okay. So 12 ounces of beer. And that means that you have to measure these drinks, right? Because even when you go out to somewhere like a brewery, which my husband and I do like to have the occasional night out for visiting some of our local favorite spots. But ultimately, 12 ounces. And what is typically served is in a pint glass, which is 16 ounces. So already right there, that's over one standard size drink. Okay, so this is all the standard size drink measurements, which will then tag into the lowest drinking guidelines. So first, we got to know what a standard size drink is. 12 ounces, 5% ABV of beer. Then we have 5 or 6 ounces of wine, which would fall somewhere between like the 12 to 14% ABV range. So that's a standard size drink of wine. After that is liquor. So you have 1.5 ounces of liquor, which is typically around 40% ABV. And there's some other drinks that fall, in that spectrum, but generally those are the most popular 3 and what I wanted to shine a light on today. So those are your standard size drinks. You have 12 ounces of 5% ABV beer, 5 to 6 ounces of 12 to 14% ABV wine, and 1.5 ounces of 40% liquor, spirits, whatever you want to call it. Okay, we know standard size drink sizes. Standard size drink sizes? Well, that's a little bit of a mouthful, but there you go. There we have it. Now, what are the low risk guidelines? Well, first and foremost, all governing health organizations can agree that if you don't drink alcohol, don't start. Don't start. Nothing good comes from it. So that's kind of the theme there is just don't drink it if you don't already. If you are drinking it, there are some strategies we can do to reduce your risk, and that's where the low risk drinking guidelines really come into play here. So, want to make sure that for women, and I'll preface this by saying men and women have different recommendations because our bodies metabolize the alcohol differently. So that's why there are different recommendations. For women, we have no more than 1 standard size drink on any given day. No more than 7 standard size drinks within a week. For men, we have no more than 2 standard size drinks on any given day. And no more than 14 standard size drinks within a week. And even since these guidelines were shared, they were part of the 2020 to 2025 nutritional guidelines. Chances are those numbers are going to drop as the new edition gets revised. So just fair warning. I called it in the first edition of the book where alcohol is becoming the new smoking. It was glamorized for so long in all the marketing without sharing the majority of the health risks that it can pose. And that is the pattern, right? That's exactly how it went for tobacco and cigarettes, and history was kind of repeating itself with alcohol. So the fact that the U.S. Surgeon General highlighted the increased cancer risk for alcohol intake was a big deal. We were very excited in the lifestyle medicine world to see that come to fruition. Okay, so now we know what constitutes low-risk drinking. Now let's move into our Empower section. And the main question that I want to pose to you is, what do you get from drinking alcohol? Like, what does it bring to your life? And maybe some of the answers are, it does help me decompress at the end of a long day. Maybe it helps you get over your social anxiety. And to that, sure, that could carry a little bit of weight behind it. But I also want to ask you, what is it taking away? Or what is it bringing to your life that isn't great? Maybe it's causing relationship problems. Oh my gosh, y'all. I can't believe I forgot to tell this part of the story. So, spoiler alert, obviously that relationship did not work out. And when I confronted my ex about the alcohol use that night, that I said, hey, can we not have alcohol while I'm, grieving the loss of my uncle? It was met with oh wait. Oh my gosh. Okay, I can laugh about it now. I was met with, well, you said you didn't want alcohol in the house, so I was trying to get rid of it. Okay, yeah, that's a choice. That is a choice. And then I said, well, don't you think it's kind of a problem that you were drinking all of this alcohol, like while you were alone, like by yourself while I was asleep? And he goes, "No, I wasn't alone. The dog was home." Oh my gosh. Just because the dog is up with you doesn't mean that it's not a little bit of a red flag that's your excuse that you're using for your drinking habits. So I share all of that now that I can laugh about it many years into the future, but in the time it was definitely devastating. And to this day, I'm still triggered occasionally by behaviors from my husband, who doesn't have nearly the same drinking habits as my ex or my dad or even my Uncle Jerry, but it's just one of those things that comes up every now and then because of that history that I have, and it has impacted my own relationship with alcohol occasionally. I share in the book that my knee-jerk reaction after we lost Buddy and coping with my own grief, it was not to do like a soothing grief meditation or anything like that. I definitely started picking up my drinking habits again. I was eating to numb my feelings, just emotionally eating and trying to drink my problems away and, send my sorrows off. But I felt it, and it impacted other aspects of my life. And I just had to have that moment again where I stopped. And I did ask myself the question I'm asking you now is, what does alcohol bring to your life? What benefits does it appear to give you, but also at what cost? And really taking a nice, long, compassionate look in the behavioral mirror and just being aware of how these choices are impacting not only your health and well-being, but the health and well-being of those that are in your life and who care about you. Oh, I know this is sometimes a very heavy topic to share, but again, it is one of those things that needs to have some additional attention and awareness brought to it so that positive changes can be made. So that's your empower section, is thinking about, okay, pros and cons here. Like, what ways do I feel like alcohol benefits me and my health and my well-being and my life? And at what expense? What are some of the things that it maybe impairs, like my ability to focus, or I get that brain fog, or I just don't sleep well and things like that. So now we would go into engage. And for this, I hope that you can just take away that a step you can take is just to pay attention. Pay attention to exactly how much you're drinking on a regular basis. What habit do you have around drinking? And maybe even measuring it, like paying attention and actually measuring it out to help you build that awareness. That could be a good first step to take away, is just noticing. And I can tell y'all, I've worked with many clients that came to me for like, hey, like I'm noticing I'm drinking way more than I feel like I should be. And I want to reduce that. And I'm proud to say that many of those clients have had successes in reducing their alcohol intake. Some people have had to refer more out to therapists. They needed a more intensive approach to change. And that's one of the reasons why my dad ended up going into inpatient treatment for alcohol use, is because actually alcohol withdrawal can be just as, if not more dangerous than withdrawal from other types of drugs. If you've been, drinking for an extended period of time at a high intake for that period of time, then your body like could end up going into shock, and there's all these negative effects that could medically complicate the process of withdrawal. So that's just something, again, to be mindful of. And when you're looking at your habits around drinking this week, I want to invite you to just pay attention with some curiosity. Again, come into it with that attitude of non-judgment and compassion and patience for yourself. You've only been doing the best that you can right now, but sometimes it takes that aha moment to say, whoa, okay, I've just kind of been going through the motions. This has just become part of my routine, and it's really impeding my progress towards the goals that I want to make. So that would be my my recommendation for engaging in a positive step this week is just notice. Just notice with curiosity, notice with kindness, notice with compassion and patience what your drinking habits are. And that will hopefully inform what kinds of changes you desire to make and some great resources that can help support you. I share it all the time. The Rethinking Drinking campaign from the National Institute of Health. Just Google Rethinking Drinking. I'll also have it linked in the show notes. But that's a great resource to start. The SAMHSA, Substance Abuse and Mental Health Association, has some wonderful, I hope I got that acronym right. I'll also have that linked in the show notes. But if you have my book, it's in chapter 7, I want to say. Hold on, let me look. Chapter 7, Choose Less Booze. It starts on page 204. So that will give you additional information as well. And like I said, maybe a sober lifestyle isn't for you, and that's okay. Maybe you're choosing to be more sober-ish, kind of like I am right now. I don't drink during the week anymore. I maybe have some alcohol on the weekend, like a craft beer or a glass of wine. But even lately, that hasn't been every weekend. It's been maybe every other weekend, maybe once a month. So those choices over time really do add up to a huge difference. And that's what's most important. And just like paying attention to how food makes us feel, it's important to also pay attention to how alcohol intake makes us feel, because in the moment we might be enjoying ourselves, but what happens after? Like, what are the consequences? In the true spirit of mindfulness, pay attention non-judgmentally in the moment to how your choices are affecting your health, well-being, and lifestyle in general. Okay. Woo, man. What an adventure that episode was. But I want to say thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to this with an open mind and allowing me to share from my own heart some of my experiences that I haven't had the chance to share yet, and how even my own relationship with alcohol evolved over time, how alcohol impacted many of my relationships throughout my lifetime. And just in general, bringing some awareness around why this pillar of lifestyle medicine is also important and is sometimes a little bit more stigmatized than some of the other ones. So if you are recognizing that maybe you have a little bit more of an issue with alcohol, leaning more towards the substance use disorder end of the spectrum, there are a lot of great professional resources out there to help you on your recovery journey. So I just want to acknowledge the bravery that it took for you to listen in and to maybe even start recognizing that at this point, to know that you have it within you to make positive changes, even if they feel overwhelming or impossible. As long as you have the support that you need, the desire to change, and the awareness that the current habits that you have might not be supporting the best version of you. And you have that within you to make those changes. You do. You really do. And so with that, I want to leave you again with some of the resources linked in the show notes that I would highly encourage you to check out. And let me know. Let me know what you thought about this episode. Feel free to send me an email or a message on LinkedIn, Instagram. I would love to know what some of your aha moments or biggest takeaways were from this episode. And I just really appreciate all of you choosing to spend this part of your day with me. Thank you so much for tuning in. And we are back again over the next couple of days with some other guest episodes that I know you're going to love. They are absolutely amazing, and I can't wait to share them with you. So until then, changemakers, keep it real, stay positive, and let's avoid those risky substances, y'all. As a quick, friendly reminder, the information in these podcasts are always strictly for educational purposes only. Thanks so much for listening, Changemakers. And if you can please remember to head to your favorite podcast platform and subscribe, rate, and review. It will help this podcast reach other changemakers so they can start listening and tuning in each week. As a bonus, if you've been wanting to make healthier choices but don't feel like you have the time or even know where to start, make sure you check out my Lifestyle Medicine Mini Makeover. It's a free 7-day email series designed to help you take small, powerful steps toward better health that can fit into your busy lifestyle. Each day, you'll get an email that educates you on one of the lifestyle medicine pillars, along with a simple mini challenge to put what you learned into action. If you're ready to level up your health with lifestyle medicine, then sign up now at healthylivingdoesn'thavetosuck.com/makeover and let's do this together. By the end of this week-long challenge, you will have success in showing yourself that healthy living doesn't have to suck.